everyone, it's Andy from Hobby Headquarters. Well, I've got something new and exciting to share with you guys today that I've been hearing about for the last couple of months, but only little bits and pieces, and now we have them in front of us, and now we can actually experiment and play around with them. And what I'm talking about are the new weathering pencils from AK Interactive. And what we've got here is we've got a couple of different sets of all the new pencils, and I've heard so many different rumors about what they are and how they worked, but every one of them were a little bit different. But now we have them in front of us so we can actually play around with them and give them a shot. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to take a look at is the color range that is going to be available for the AK Interactive weathering pencils. And as you can see here, I was able to get a hold of 6 of the sets that they have out. Now, the sets are made up of 5 individual pencils, and they're going to have a color range in each side of one that is going to correspond to the type of set it is. So we have like a chipping and aging set, a basic color set, a green and brown, a gray and blue, a rust and streaking, and a dirt and mark set. Now, each one of those, like I said, has the 5 pencils inside, but from what I understand too, there are going to be available, all of these individual pencils available that you can buy them just one pencil at a time. In fact, they are making up a rack for hobby stores that they'll just be rows of the individual pencils. And let's say, for example, you want to get the dark rust color out of the rust and streaking. There'll be a whole row of just of the dark rust. And from what I understand, they retail for about $3 each on it there. But like I said, we were able to get the sets, and I personally always like the sets because the sets are, you know, if you're going to be doing something, let's say like chipping and aging, it's always nice to have all the corresponding colors that'll make up for that. Rather, sometimes you go to a rack and you can't find one specific color you're going to be using, but these are going to work out really good that way. So what I'll do real fast is we're going to break each one down so you can see it. So the chipping one has inside of it a red primer, a chipping color, a gunmetal graphite color, a dark chipping for wood, and a light chipping for wood. The basic color set is going to have aluminum, yellow, red, light blue, and a light green. The green-brown set has a sepia color, a sand color, a dark green, light green, and an olive green. And then here we have our blues or grays and blues. We got a neutral gray, a dark gray, a light blue, a dark blue, and a green blue. Then we move on to our rust set, and the rust is one I'm going to be using probably quite a bit. This has got a vivid orange, a strong ochre, dark rust, medium rust, and light rust inside. And finally, the last set we have is a dirt and mark set. So we have a streaking dirt, buff, earth brown, concrete marks, and dust and rain marks. Now, there was one other set too I tried to get a hold of, and it's going to be a metallic set that is going to have 5 metallic colors inside there that you'll be able to use for like chipping on metal vehicles, things like that. That'll be kind of cool. So now that we've got all of the colors broken down, what we're going to do is now we're actually going to look inside and see what the heck these things actually are. Because we've heard all kinds of reports, at least I have, that they're going to be like grease pencils or makeup pencils or all other kind of things. But after reading the instructions, first we'll pull the pieces out of here, and you can see they're all nicely done up. They've got a nice color code on the back of the pencil so that if you lay them down like this, you'll be able to see it. And of course, they're all nicely marked on the inside there too of what each one of the colors are. Okay, like I started to say earlier, I've read the instructions on how to use these, and now of course I know what they actually are made out of. These are a water-based weathering color pencil basically, and so you've got kind of a soft type material inside here, you know, that makes up the pigment. It's not hard like pencil legs, so you don't want to push too hard on it because it will start to compress and you know, get all over the place. But this you can sharpen down to a pretty good point. Now this one has been, this is how it came out of the box, but I put another one a little while ago in my regular pencil sharpener and got a real fine point out of it. Now with that, you can use this in a couple different ways. You can use it just as a chipping effect or a weathering effect, just using it dry as a pencil, but you can also use it by putting it on and then you taking a paintbrush dipped in water and then streaking it, just as you would do like a streaking grime or any of the other type of things that you've seen me do in the past. So what I've done here is I've taken an old kit that I built quite a while ago and just threw a quick coat of dark yellow on it, because the original kit had quite a bit of weathering already on it and didn't want to have any of that interfere with what we're about to do right now. So we've taken this, painted it, and now I'm going to zoom in a little bit right here and I'll kind of show you what we can do. So I've taken a couple of different colors, and one of the colors is the chipping color, and this is the one that I sharpened up for you guys because we were going to put some chips and scratches and things like that on it. So you can see we can start to, especially with the fine tip on it, we can put some long scratches, and then we're going to chip the edge of the vehicle as if it's been dragged stuff across and it's starting to pull stuff off. We can also put a few other little long scratches inside there. We can also take a little bit of our medium rust, and we'll kind of put a little bit of this on here, and we're putting it on kind of not sloppy is the wrong word for it, but kind of haphazardly. And then we're going to take our paintbrush just with a touch of water on it. We don't want too much water on it, and just where the rust area is, we can start to drag down on it and get some nice marks on it. And then we can even put some heavier rust spot up here, so you can put some extra amount just where you want it, and then using the brush again, kind of work it in. You can see the different tones. Now this is actually like the first time I've ever used these, so it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for anybody to start to mess around with to get it exactly the way they want. But I've seen a couple of pictures that have used these before, and actually they turn out pretty good once you get the hang of it. And the nice thing about being the watercolor too is you have a lot of opportunity with these, because if you don't like if it's too thick or whatever, you need to put more on, of course, like anything, but you can also take it all off too, that if you don't like something, you can remove it because it's watercolor. And you can see we're starting to get, I really like the way that's coming out right there. That's looking really cool. Okay, that's letting it dry for a little bit, and after doing a little bit of working it into it. The other thing I found that I'm really going to like these a lot for is to fill in any of these cracks. I went around here in this panel line here. I went and filled it in with the chipping color, and because you can drill these down to a fine point, it's really easy to go down the line and just fill this in, and then just take your paintbrush with just a touch of water on it, and easy enough just to put the little bit of water in there and then just slightly blend it to get the panel line filled. And it's a pretty good way of doing it without making a mess out of all the other areas around it. So liking that area quite a bit. Another thing that you can do with the pencils, as you can see right here, is you can use them to make a nice wash, a real nice subtle wash that is not overpowering. What I did right in through here, and this is still drying a little bit, but I think it still has a nice effect. We used a rust color pencil in through this area, and in this area right here we used a sepia color to give it kind of a dirty brown color on top of the dark yellow, as if dirt and stuff is built up on top of there. And went quite a bit of extra rust color on here, but because this is just an experiment, we're playing around with it. And the way we did that is, I'll show you on the other side here. I started working on both sides with this, is basically just taking the pencil and just rubbing kind of heavy in one little area that you want it to be, and then just adding the water to it, and you can see it just comes alive. And then you kind of just fade it out and blend it in around here, so it's not super heavy. And that's one thing I've noticed with these, is that they create a very subtle effect, way more subtle than, especially after they dry, than you'd expect from like an enamel wash or some of the other heavier washes out on the market. And we are still, or I should say, I am still experimenting with these. There's not a heck of a lot of information out on them right now, other than that they're out, and I wanted to play around with them. But I think we could use them quite a bit in the near future for other things. Probably not on everyday thing, on every item, because we're going to still use our enamel washes quite a bit, because they they do the job really well. But I can see using these as if we need a more subtle type look to the weathering job we're doing. One other thing I think you guys might be interested in too, I got this at the same time I got the pencils, was a new book from AK Interactive and Desert Eagle Publishing. It's a cooperation between the two of them. And this is on mud, and it's a Rust and Dust series #1. And it says mud, but it's also dealing with all kinds of mud and dirt effects on Israeli vehicles. So as we look through the entire thing in the beginning, they've got tons of photos in the front here of the real thing. And it's really amazing how dirty and muddy one of these things can really get. So next time someone says you overdid it on the mud, take a look at those pictures right there. That's definitely an example of some real baked on, caked on mud right there. But we can use these, they used all these real pictures in here to give you examples of what you can build up. And you'll notice they're all Israeli vehicles, all different types in there. And then as you go further into the book, more pictures of like the Dobies, things like that. Lots and lots of photos of the real thing. And then as we get further into it, then they break down using their product how to duplicate some of those effects. Different masking techniques to get the mud in the right areas. And even this whole little thing I was looking at of the different layering to get the built-on mud that would go on the mud guards here. And finally, they kind of give you a reveal and show you how to really pack the mud in there. So this is something that is just coming out from AK. It's under $30, and it looks like it's a nice book to have, especially if you want to do some really beat up, muddy Israeli armor. Well, there you go, guys. There is a quick breakdown of how to use the new weathering pencils by AK Interactive. Now, I think we've only basically just scratched the surface on using these right now, because we just kind of didn't know much about them going into it, and we kind of just put them through the paces a little bit. But you can see experimenting and using all different types of make them into washes and scratches and things like that, like we did on the mouse kit. So I think we're going to have a lot of fun with these down the road. And maybe, like I was telling you earlier, subtly. We're not going to be using them for everything on it, because they just don't work that way as compared to like an enamel paint would, or enamel wash, I should say, would work on it. But I think they can serve a valuable asset to the modeler who wants to do all different types of techniques. I think you can have a lot of fun with them too. So I want to thank you guys as always for watching, and please stay tuned because we have many more videos coming.